Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Human Equation online forum discussion series. On behalf of our organizers, Human Equation, I would like to thank the panelists and participants for joining us here today. I'll be your moderator this evening, and my name is Gurit Kaur. I'm a senior consultant with Human Equation, and this is the 10th series in our online forum. By now, you call it what you want, conditional movement, PKPB or whatever it's called, whatever stage we're in, most of us are probably quite pros at working from home. But the thing is, while you're meeting deadlines and managing your household tasks really efficiently, are you also taking time for yourself? This week, we discussed balancing the mind, the body, and the spirit to keep you sane and energized at the same time as we continue to live through this current pandemic. Today, we'll be speaking to industry experts and professionals to help us manage and care for ourselves a little better. We are so fortunate to have with us here today our panelists, and I'm going to quickly introduce them to you. We have Dr. Anasuya Jegathesan, who is an associate professor of the Faculty of Social Sciences and Leisure Management of Taylor's University. We have Ms. Linora Low, an MC, a wellness coach, and an ambassador of Under Armour. We have Datin Farah DiBa Khan, dietitian from Prince Court Medical Center's Lifestyle Modification Center. And we have Ms. Sheila Singam, the founder of Human Equation. So thank you for being here, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
So before we begin, let me very quickly bring in our host, Sheila Singam from Human Equation. Sheila, would you like to say a few words before we begin?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for making the time this afternoon to join us. We decided to put together this panel discussion on this topic because we are becoming more aware of people becoming increasingly stressed out, working from home, not knowing how to draw the boundary between work and leisure and fitness, and also being at home. We might be cooking more and eating healthier, but also at home when you have things on your mind and you're a bit bored, it's very easy to go out and reach out to the fridge or the pantry and just eat any old thing that's there. And so we need to take a holistic approach towards our health. We need to be looking at our mental health. We need to be looking at the food that we're eating. We need to be looking at whether we're exercising, having enough movement. And we also need to look at the spiritual side of things, which doesn't necessarily mean religion. So this is why we've got four of us here today to speak on these different elements. We really need to stay healthy because we don't know how long this is going to go on. Things look to be easing up. Restrictions have been eased a bit. But, if working at home is going to be a way of life, we need to learn to manage ourselves better.
Thank you, Sheila. Okay, so what I'd like to start off with is what are some of the common issues that you ladies have found that people are facing in terms of their mental, their physical, and their spiritual well being in this time? Maybe I'll start with Dr. Anasuya. Can we begin with you first?
Yes, thank you. One of the major issues that people are finding, a lot of people think, oh, I'm at home, it's easier. I think we're finding is exactly the opposite. What work does is it helps us compartmentalize our lives. So we've got work issues, we've got home issues. But now we've got 24/7 work and home at the same time. And it is putting a very unique kind of stress on people, especially parents. When you've got parents or you've got three generations in your home, people underestimate because, oh, I'm at home, I should be okay. No, you've brought work into your home space, and so that makes it a workspace, and that means your brain is going to be a lot more stressed. And I think that recent research is coming out on Zoom, that Zoom meetings are as stressful, if not more stressful than face-to-face meetings, because of all this type of breaking down of the mental health barriers that we used to have. Last time we could leave work in the office and come home. Now we can't.
So there's no clear demarcation anymore. Our entire lives have blended together.
Yeah, and to be healthy, we kind of need those barriers. We kind of need those boundaries, and to respect those boundaries. So that's one of those important things for our mental health is to have boundaries and to respect the boundaries that we have.
Right. Lenora, are you finding the same thing? Are you experiencing the same challenges, or do you see people experiencing the same challenges?
Well, for me right now, I see the challenges are two actually. One is the fact that you are not able to compartmentalize anymore. That's one, and the other thing is a different kind of isolation where some people may actually feel lonely even though they have people. So I feel like there is a different kind of loneliness that could happen. It's when you are with family or with friends or when you're staying by yourself. And that loneliness, I think, is something that really needs to be addressed, because when you are in your own thoughts, that is also when the demons, so-called, can come out, because you do not have anybody else to express it to. And touch is so important. Um, to feel a human connection somewhere, is because right now everything is virtual. I find that we are missing that whole aspect of the human touch. Sure, we can do work like that, but it's just very different. And for me, like for example, as a coach, for me to encourage. I can give as much support verbally, but to be there to say, just hold on to my client's hand, for example, or even to just poke at the right muscle. Those little things make a huge difference, just to know that I'm there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so,
to not
but
have that is a big challenge for them and for you.
yes, yes. And then the other part, which I think is quite similar, which is the getting away. Actually, not to say people want to get out, but when you are cooped up in the same place for such a long time, it is about the environment of. So, for example, usually people who are you are made up of the environment that you usually delve in. So, say for example, if you're always I give for myself example, I was usually always at a gym somewhere, or I was out of the house, and I went to a place where the people surrounding me were also of the same mindset, where you want to be healthy, you want to eat well, so you could bounce off that kind of energy. And not to say that it doesn't happen in my own household, but it's not the same.
Right.
And so that kind of environment, like for me, it's difficult, because technically then I'm the only person that actually sees it in that respect. Nothing against my family, which I'm staying with, but it's just a different mindset.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's different, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So, Sheila, you're working from home as well, and you have your family there with you. So, what kind of a challenge do you see your family members going through?
I actually have been working from home a lot over the years. I have a physical office. I go there sometimes, and most of my time is spent out there at clients' premises or hotels doing training, because essentially that's my core business. So, working from home, I used to stay at home. It was me and my younger daughter and my mom, and we have a home help because my older daughter's gotten married and gone out. But then during the lockdown, she came back here, and she's in the family way, due anytime soon. So I've got my daughter and son-in-law staying. So there are 5 of us, and most of us are working. So it's been a time of adjustment, But what we try and do to keep the balance going is we try, because sometimes when you're working from home, I know a lot of people forget to eat, right? So we've got these other people like my mom and my pregnant daughter who need to eat. They're older people and all that. So they are very strict with us. It's okay. Lunchtime, we're at the table. Food is going to come on the table. Put away your laptops and put away your phones and sit down and eat and have conversation. So it's very important, as Dr. Anasuya said, we need to have those boundaries. We need to have those firmly in place. Also, there's a cutoff time for work, right? I'm fortunate that I don't have to report to anyone that calls me at midnight and all, which I think is a no-no. If there anyone out there, bosses and all that, calling your staff at 10 and 11 o'clock at night, unless it's an emergency and the world's going to come crashing around your ears, then I don't think that's necessary. So we have a cutoff point, 8, 9 o'clock, everyone has to stop. And sometimes we play family games, we sit down, we do things. So for me, drawing those boundaries has had to be even more important, because we are living with people who don't work as we do, people who've got different agendas, different priorities. So I think there's more give and take. So we've had to be more mindful of the people we live with,
Right.
Spiritually, I think at this point, it's very, very important not just to be focusing on work. You've got to be focusing on your purpose. What is the purpose of your work? Okay. And what are you doing? What is the purpose of you being in lockdown with these family members, these people whom you saw for 2-3 hours a day, in the morning half an hour, and then you went off, then you came back at 7-8 o'clock and you saw them for a while, maybe ate with them, maybe didn't. Now you are here with them. What is the lesson that's in it for us? So I'm continuously taking lessons from the adversities, the opportunities. I think it's not about sitting and saying, oh, woe is me, we're all under lockdown, lockdown, don't know what's going to happen. I think it's about finding the best that you can be, the best person that you can be in the situation, and doing the best that you can do in order to keep your spirits up, because God knows no one's going to come out there and lift up your spirits and motivate you. Got to do it yourself.
That being said, can I add another
Yes,
slide
please
here
do.
to what is going on in families? Because I think even most of the people here would be on the higher end of the spectrum, where we are already doing mental and physical healthy activities. But then you've got teenagers, you've got people who are facing things like cutting, or they're facing stresses where they're unable to manage. And what you're finding right now is fighting in the family, especially in families with already underlying issues, have actually increased. Small matters are now blown up big. I've seen couples, young couples, very young couples that stayed together in COVID are now broken up. So they actually have split. So we have to understand that, there are many of us have got good families, and our families are managing to manage the situation relatively well. But at the same time, there's a level of stress that it creates within families, and that can be caused.
Sorry, Doctor, we've lost you for a while there, Doctor.
It's okay. We'll come back to you, Doctor. I just want to ask the next question, yeah, which is like, we know what these challenges are. We're aware that stresses can arise, cabin fever and all that. I think what is far more important is for us to understand, how do we overcome this? How do we address these challenges? And because we don't want these ill effects to carry on in people long term. So what are some of the ways to address these challenges to mitigate the ill effects on people? Maybe I'll start with you, Datin, in terms of the healthy lifestyle habits that we can actually incorporate into our life.
I think all of us need to actually have a routine in what we do, whether we are working from home or we are actually at work, because routine is something which get us going. Maybe another thing that can be done is to make a schedule, as to what you would like to plan out for the day. It's like as when we come into an office, it's like we know what's going to entail for us for the rest of the day. We would still need to connect socially. You need to connect with everyone else. Even Linora even brought that up. So I think that's important. We also need to have sometimes time to ourselves also. It's which
Absolutely, yeah.
we don't realize that. So we are just so concerned about what's going to happen to the family. We have young children. Are they doing their work? So I've got to prepare this. I've got to get food on the table. So we have no me time. I think that's important.
Dr. Anasuya, I'm going to come back to you with what you were saying just now, before we got cut off, yeah? But before I do, I just want to very quickly go to Linora as well, because Datin was saying that the physical aspect of it, and how you were saying that one of the challenges is the touch and being able to connect with people that way. So how do you see us overcoming that particular part of the challenge?
Honestly, so long as we are having social distancing, it's going to be hard.
Right.
But this is something actually I picked up actually from a sermon, and the pastor was actually saying that when the minute that you are actually able to go out, when this is lifted, don't wait in actually trying to get connected again with somebody else, to immediately do it. The reason why is because he brought up this term called atrophy. So I'm sure doctors, atrophy, which is the wearing down of a particular muscle that is not used anymore. So in the same way, that is the same for our own mental state, the relationships that we are bringing out that we have with people. Don't wait in actually making that connection anymore. And I understand where he's coming from too, because I actually have not stepped out of the house at all for 60 odd days. Groceries and everything has been done online. So because I stay with my parents, so that is my biggest concern if say I become a carrier. And so the paranoia of actually going out is very real to me. I think that is where we need to overcome the fear, and maybe that's even for myself. I had one friend who came over. She was passing me something that she made, and it was so funny because we were standing at a distance. literally at a distance, and I was still afraid. I didn't know where to hug her, which I usually do. I didn't know how to react to the whole thing at all. In fact, I said, could you please put that thing far away and then I'll go pick it up. I feel that the minute we are able to connect again within reason, and also being mindful of our own health, immunity, and then making sure that we're hygienic and everything, I think we should start getting that back again. I can only imagine what it's like for people who are staying by themselves, because then they're really just in four walls. I'm very blessed that I actually see my family, which is great. It's still very different because it's the same group of people for the past 60 days. Yeah, so I would say that the best thing is go out immediately when you are able to, and not have that fear of actually meeting people.
I need to jump into what she said just now.
Okay.
Because she said you're saying that you're saying as if the fear and anxiety is going to disappear. Now this is one major concern that we have as a mental health workers, is that the fear and anxiety that we are allowing to build is not rational. We are allowing irrational fears now to actually interfere with relationships and how we maintain our lives. As soon as the government says it's over, do you think that fear and anxiety is going to disappear without any, without you actively challenging that fear and anxiety? The reaction is already there. The MCO has been for a very long time. It's become a habit. So one thing that we need to be aware of now, and we need to say, look, I don't want this to be a paranoia. I don't want to get paranoid. I don't want to go over. But we are getting to that point. And what your example just now is one of those examples which actually would have me worried. Like, your friend is there, you're so conscious of it. So when MCO goes away, do you really think that the first time you go out you'll be okay? So you need to start challenging that mindset itself. I'm sorry, I'm just to extend from that example.
Yeah.
You may be fine. I'm just
jump in, Linora.
Yeah. No, I totally understand. That's why I was actually bringing up that example, because I was already aware that that was something that that didn't seem very healthy. So I think this is where then it's important for people that it's good that we're actually talking about it. So that way people go like, oh, okay. And if they have that awareness, then maybe they can probably take control of that. And then they don't have to have that anymore.
I'd suggest shaking hands and then washing your hands after that immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
Not touching at all. Your friends are coming over, because that changes things in other ways. Yeah,
back to what you were saying also, Dr. Anasuya, because I think it was a very, very important point that you were bringing up, where you were talking about how relationships are being affected, and you've seen breakups and all that. The stresses are really getting to people. Not everybody is in a happy home environment. Some of us have got bigger challenges than others. What do we do? How do we address it?
Unfortunately, that's the case where you need to reach out to therapists, you need to reach out to other people, you need to reach out to an external support system, or like Sheila was talking about, an internal support system. You have to understand, your inner space. If you really cannot find an external space, you have to go into your inner space and find that, that meaning, that, the balance inside yourself. Or you just have to play the waiting game and have an exit strategy. As soon as MCO is over, okay, this is my plan, and keep that plan of exit very strong in your head, so that you have hope. One of the worst things you want for anybody is a feeling of hopelessness and helplessness, and that is actually quite prevalent with the MCO, because we're physically hopeless, we feel physically helpless, and we feel powerless in the situation. So those are issues that, especially in families with already underlying issues, it is going to come up. And if you are finding it coming up in your family, please don't think it's unnatural, that fights are becoming big. It's actually pretty natural. It's cabin fever, it's whatever you want to call it, setting in strongly. Okay? So please take care of yourself.
Okay, great. Sheila, do you want to add to this?
I actually agree with Dr. Anasuya. I'm saying that there are a lot of people out there who are saying that, oh, I can't talk to a therapist, I can't talk to a psychologist. It's never been done before in my family, that people think something's wrong with me. I think now more than ever, if you cannot, as the word say, they say, like, cannot tahan, you need to reach out to someone. Yeah. You really need to reach out to a professional, a coach, a counselor, a therapist, a psychologist, psychiatrist, anybody. If you can't sleep, if the stress is building up and getting to you and you can't manage it inside, those who can manage it inside, and this is where the spiritual part comes in, when you can find it inside yourself and you've got faith, whether you believe in a God or the universe or whatever you believe in, go and reach inside of yourself. I find something that's very, very useful is to do journaling. to write down things inside in your thoughts. Now, I personally am telling you this as a coach myself. This is what I did. About 1.5 years ago, I lost my husband to cancer, and I found that I started writing about it. And I wrote Facebook posts. I was either writing directly to him or writing to people about what he taught me. And then, and when people looked at me and said, you're doing very well, you're coping with your grief very well, and I was wondering, oh, am I in denial, or I don't know. So I'm examining myself, and I realized that it's because I was writing my feelings down. So for those of us who maybe do not have recourse to a therapist, we don't know where to go, where to reach out to. Well, there is Dr. Anasuya here today, so you could put your question over there.
I do have a question here from Christy. Yeah. And I would like to bring it up straight away instead of waiting till the end to get it answered, because I think it's an important one, and I think it's something that we all need to hear the answer to. How do we challenge the fear and anxiety of people who don't even realize that they have that anxiety? So a little bit maybe of denial perhaps going on. How do we, how do you tell somebody who says, to say to someone, I think you need to talk to somebody, or I think you need to go and see someone, when they feel, but I'm fine.
Yeah, okay. Look, very gently. And during the MCO, you may want to consider delaying it, or trying to create a barrier around it, because some people, if they start and you don't know how to manage, it can explode.
Oh, okay.
Some people are keeping it together very strongly. And if the problem is, sometimes you may be part of the problem. You are noticing it, but you are part of their problem. And then you go and poke, and you don't listen to what they say. And then when they explode, you blame them again. So the problem with the MCO is, you're now with those people, and you may not realize how much you are contributing to their anxiety or to their fear. So one way to actually try to manage that is look for clues in the environment of what happened before, just before the person's fear or anxiety started to come up. And if there's a contributing factor, you can see a pattern in what they're doing, then try to interrupt the pattern. If that person themselves realize it, then that person themselves will reach out. But if you are the family and you're realizing it, I'm actually going to ask you, that means you are part of that system which got them anxious. You're part of that system that got them fearful. Are you all contributing to it? Is this a family dynamic rather than an individual dynamic? Because in most of the cases with the MCO, that's what it is. It's the family system that is being interrupted and being, too confined. That is the problem.
Right. Okay.
So sorry,
Sheila,
can I just ask for that?
Yep.
Then, doctor, how if say is the family dynamic, which is the issue, then how you address it? Because say it's the individual that's coming to you for help, right? Then obviously, if say the family is the one that could be the contributing factor, how does the individual get help? Because he or she needs to tell the family, right?
Because everybody's in a system. You change one part of a system, you can change other parts of it. So it's about managing then the system. So it's same like if one part of your body is damaged, you can balance it off with the other parts of the body. Same thing in the family. So if you are the one who recognizes that your family is broken and you're trying to manage, then you need to learn skills to manage a broken family, to not to heal everything or magically make everything better, but you can find de-stressors within that system to release some of the stress in that system on your own. And then what you'll find is when people start feeling better or feeling less pressured, they may respond to you. So by changing ourselves within the system, our role within the system, we start changing the system. And sometimes that's all we can do. I mean, and it will not be a total cure.
This is absolutely fascinating stuff. I think we probably will need to arrange another session just to talk about the mental part of it, because this is such an important topic, But very quickly, Linora, how are you coping with because you're such a physically active person, I mean, I gotta know, I gotta find out.
I will be very honest, at this early stages of the MCO, it was hard because I was thinking, oh, great, no gym, there is no actual place that I can go to. But really, I always say, and I keep telling myself as well, that as long as you have a body, you have a gym. So you can actually do many, many things with your body. You can use anything around in the house. I even did a YouTube video where I used I think more than 18 or 20 different items in the house. I use a broomstick, I use shoe boxes, I put it all together to make it look like a barbell.
Oh God, you're one of those people I hate.
I'm actually very creative. But yeah, I mean,
Absolutely, you're amazing.
yeah, yeah. So if you're my client, you probably might dislike me because I'll be like, I can still train you. But yeah,
Right.
in terms of physical activity, there is actually no boundaries. It's really up to you to want to make the movement for yourself, take action. It's also coming to where I have to tell myself, what kind of example do I want to be? So I'm putting myself out there, and I need to lead by example as well. So I need to make sure that I'm also moving. How can I be telling someone else, you got to be moving when I'm not moving?
Mm.
Granted, I may not have as many steps as I used to because I'm in the house, but I still at least ensure that I'm physically challenging myself with a workout of some sort. And it's great that now I'm back with my coach again. So that is one of the things that helps me keep accountable. I got myself back with my coach, so he got me the program. So I don't have to think so much. I just need to make sure I do. And I think that's where it's helpful, especially during this time. I can't emphasize this more. For those with the mental aspect, please seek personal,
Yeah.
actual professional help. And also for those who are working out, if you can, there is the budget to reach out to a coach. Please do so, because I can only imagine how many people are getting injured from home workouts. The lack of knowledge of how
Mm.
to work out
Yeah.
is there. In fact, I was just talking to one friend of mine who's a pain specialist, and he was saying that a number of people are just getting injured at home now from thinking that, oh, okay, I want to push myself at home, but they're not training smart. The thing is, people come to a coach, and that is where the coach is able to explain all that. But half the time, people will not be
Mm.
interested. They just want to get it done. And this is where I'm really encouraging whoever that does even physical activities to also be mindful, that have a purpose for every single movement. What's the intention? Not just for the sake of moving. There has to be intention for every movement, to know what exactly you're moving in your body.
I agree
Yeah.
with Linora because I mean, during this MCO, I've never actually ventured into looking on all these online workouts, and I was
Mhm.
amazed. And I mean, at certain time of the workouts, I would, because there's no one to push you. I mean, you can't view the coach can't view you, so you're like, okay, I'll just lapse back in a bit. But even someone who's I'm not, I mean, well versed in what are the correct posture that you should be doing, on the exercises, and it also worries me, like there's no one there to actually guide you to,
Mm.
as you said, the physical contact to actually, to say that this is the wrong movement that you're doing, and you could end up actually just being your body being physically abused, rather than getting the right, exercise that's going on.
There are now two parts to this argument. One is that because of this new normal, that some of us have started incorporating a lot of the healthy habits, like, okay, home workouts, eating well, taking care of myself, giving myself space to do what I need to do. There's also another part of the story of people who, I couldn't be bothered. There's no one to watch over me. I really don't want to. I'm not going to do it. I'll eat what I want to, as much cake as I want to. The question is now, for those who are doing it and doing it well and doing it the way they're meant to be doing it, once this is all relatively calmed down and we sort of can go back to whatever it is that we used to do, how do we maintain that momentum? Number one. Number two, for those of us who couldn't be bothered, like, oh, it's okay, cake, just give me cake. How do we motivate ourselves to go out there and change what we're doing? Doctor, you're laughing. Tell me what's going through your mind.
I shan't be a hypocrite and talk about physical health, okay? Because I've been
No,
promising
no,
myself
no,
to
no.
start to
I
start
want you to talk
exercising
about. I
for
want you to
too
talk about
long,
the
and I
mental part
haven't
of
done
it.
it yet.
Mm. Okay, yeah. Tell me about the mental part of it, the motivation part.
No, the mental part is, what do you find most fascinating to yourself? What do you find interesting? Just because just because, if you are under MCO, if you're not used to doing exercise, guess what? Having MCO and putting on the weight is not going to motivate you to do exercise. So it is not so much motivation, it's more determination. It's a
Right.
goal that you have to set, and you have to kind of get into the mindset, this is really what I want, and then you kind of just have to do it.
Yeah.
And I know I haven't set aside the time. I know I haven't set aside the mental fortitude to actually go and do that. And I will 100% say it's a choice. It's a choice I'm making to not be active, and I know it. I know that it's only going to be for so long where then I'll be forced to make a different choice, and then I'll make a different choice.
Okay. Sheila, jump in here and tell me, how do you build that? Because you're the expert in motivating people and telling people to go out there and get it done. Tell us how you would, how do we
Okay.
do this?
There's a lot of internal barriers to motivation. You can only motivate somebody who is willing to take on those new beliefs about themselves. So if someone has a belief that I can exercise all I want, but I'm not going to lose weight, so why bother? Then there's no point giving them, motivating them. What will happen is they might get on someone like Linora to coach them for 3 months. Oh no, they get all fit and all. They do not see, because if their objectives, I want to sort of lose weight. That's why I'm exercising. But they don't lose the weight. They don't see the long-term benefits that I'm getting more fit. My muscle tone is increasing. I'm core strength improving. They don't see all of that. So it is always starts with what is the person's goal, okay, in whatever they're doing. Whether they're cooking healthy, now they're cooking healthy. I know men are beginning to go into the YouTube and look for sort of recipes and then coming up with fantastic food on the table because they're all stuck at home. Now, when we all go back to work one day, those same fellas, are they going to come back and still find that joy in cooking and put some food on the table? Or is it going to be like, oh, we're back to status quo, so, your job is to cook? So it's a thing, the thing of whether we are believing this, as Dr. Anasuya says, it's all inside your mind as to whether you want
Mhm.
to carry this on. So we're eating healthier now. Do we want to do this when the shops are open and we can go makan and eat in the mama and eat all the unhealthy food? All right. We're now exercising. Now, some of us are like, oh, I'm putting on a bit of weight, like, so I better go and do some exercise. Then when you go back to working 9 to 5, are you still going to be doing that? It's all here. It's a matter of priorities, Spirit. It's a matter of priorities. It's a matter of, have you learned anything at all from this episode? Because I know people who haven't. The minute the MCO was loosened, everyone went there, sitting in the mama stall, eating. And I know there are people out there going through mental health issues who just cannot relate to what I am saying. And this is where, if your children are going through this, parents need to be very sensitive. You need to be having more empathy towards the people you live with, to be able to put yourself into the shoes. You can't turn around and say to someone, yeah, good, but you don't have to go to the office, you can work from home or not, so what are you depressed about? You can't do that. You need to be really, really clued in. You need to empathize. You need to be very mindful. And this is where you're seeing everybody all the time, facial expression, tonality, and physiology, everything becomes more important. So what I'm trying to say here is that we need to see this 3 months not as a bane, but as a boon in a way. It's given us a time, a chance to reboot. It's given us a chance to sit at home and reevaluate ourselves. Now, how many of
Mhm.
us are sitting and doing that? Spending the first part of every morning doing some sort of self-evaluation, discovery. If you are in the faith, you have any faith, doing some prayers or something like that. It took me a bit of time to get into that as well. But now what I'm doing is, are we doing any of this diarizing, journaling, realizing ourselves, where do we want our lives to go? We have been running like hamsters on the treadmill. And even that thing about working, working at home without the boundaries, that's also a choice. Everything that we're doing is also a matter of a choice. So what choices are we making now? And are we going to take the good choices into the life that we lead after this episode is over? Or are we going to go back to the old choices? Why would we want to do that? These are all things that are inside of people. So yes, Gurrit, even I can tell you, I can go and do a training to motivate you and get all hyped up and excited about it. And then tomorrow you go back to, your whole grindstone of a life. And then,
Yeah.
because that motivation is coming from me,
Yeah.
motivation to be who you really want to be and do what you want to do has to come from inside.
Right.
Sometimes you need help.
Yeah.
Sometimes you
Okay.
need help.
I'm gonna address some of the questions that we've been getting. This is such a fascinating topic, and we're getting a lot of comments and feedback and questions from the audience. So I want to bring up one of the questions from Jeannie. Jeannie says, having strong mental strength is important during this MCO period. Can you please share some tips on how best we can build mental toughness? I'm going to go to Lenora first on this because I'm gonna. I have a personal agenda here because I need that mental fortitude to go get myself moving a little bit and getting a little bit more physically active. So
Well, I'm gonna agree completely with Sheila in saying it's first things first is your choice.
yeah,
And I see that for my clients, the ones who really are able to succeed in what they're doing is because they make the choice.
mm,
They have already set themselves onto it. And then what I can do as a coach is I can be there
mm,
to support you, and I
mm,
will believe fully that you are going to do it. And I will
mm,
just be there to support.
okay.
So, but if you're saying like, if say someone who is just sitting down most of the time, I'll say the first thing is just get up, get up.
Good
In
question.
fact,
Good point. Yeah. Just get out.
seriously, can you just stand up right now for me?
Do I really have to? Seriously, you
Yes,
want me to?
yes,
Okay, fine.
yes.
There you go. Is
Okay.
that
See?
okay?
Yes, that action. And now you can sit down.
Thank you.
And then I'll actually ask you to stand up again.
No, no, no.
But my point is that when you want to get into any kind of physical mentality, move. Just
Right.
start moving. Do
Okay.
something as simple that you enjoy, like going to get a cup of tea or going to just getting the sun on you, anything that you actually enjoy. In the end, also ask yourself why. Why do you want to get physically more active?
Yeah.
You would know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, doctor,
Can I add?
I wanna very quickly go to you with regards to the same thing, mental fortitude and strength. There are a lot of us, um, family members, we ourselves go through depression, anxiety, um, mental fortitude, strength. How do we build it?
Be kind to yourself. Forgive
Yes.
yourself. Be kind to yourself. We have a lot of compassion for other people. We are very kind to other people, but we hold ourselves at a standard where we hurt ourselves most of the time. We are not kind to ourselves, we are kind to other people. So, if you're asking me, one of the ways to grow your mental fortitude is forgive yourself, be kind to yourself, have compassion to you, and sometimes have compassion to you in the past, the one who made mistakes. You know, have the same kindness that you'd have to a stranger to yourself. That's the biggest thing I can tell you.
Beautifully said. Sheila, you wanted to say something just now. I'm sorry I interrupted.
That's okay. I'm taking off from what Dr. Anasuya said. Many of us carry a lot of guilt in our lives. We carry a lot of negative emotions. We need to examine ourselves and ask where that came from. And we also need to look at what we can learn from those episodes in our life, those times. What's the positive learning we can take? How can it help us grow? And the thing is, being kind to ourselves is loving ourselves. You cannot love other people if you don't love yourself first. And
Mm,
so you are what you are, as you are, what size you are, what shape you are, what's the color of your hair, doesn't matter. If you are comfortable in your skin, whoever you are, it doesn't matter. Now, talking about that fortitude, mental fortitude, I'll talk about exercise, Lenora. I'm a person, I've got incredible mental fortitude. Okay, you know me great. I am people say I'm very strong, yes. But when it comes to exercise, I always have this side of like, oh, I don't want to. So there's one part of me that wants to, knows I should, and wants to be fit. And I have gone in and out of the gym. And the other part of me is like, I don't want. So what did
mm,
I do? This has been a long-term thing. I keep saying I'm going to start and I don't. So I got a coach, a mental coach, to come in and sit down and evaluate to myself, why am I not kickstarting? What is the motivation behind not starting?
mhm.
And the motivation for starting. And then I was able to look into myself and find out what were some of the underlying reasons. And Dr. Anasuya
Yes.
will tell you this: the mind
Mhm.
is the most complex organ in our body. All right.
Yes,
The,
I
the
agree.
mind, the entire neurology, nobody can explain how a human being thinks, the convoluted process of
I
thinking.
like that.
Oh, there you go.
Yep. It is true. It is
Just get
very,
it.
very true.
Yeah.
Because like the underlying thing, like you were saying, right, Sheila, sorry for interrupting. It's sometimes whenever we don't want to do something or how we react to something is underlying stuff that is within us. Like
Yeah.
for example, say an eating disorder that has carried on for so many times, and I see it even for some of my friends. And then after that, I found out like years ago, she battled with bulimia, and then there was a divorce in the family, and then there was so many things that were broken there that could have actually led to the eating disorder, for example. Not saying
Mm.
it is, but the underlying things. So I suppose once, like I said, the coach can only help so much, but this is where you need the professional help to actually dig a little bit deeper and see what is the real problem. It may not
Yeah.
actually be weight. It could be
Okay.
something else.
We're really running out of time. We really
Yeah.
should have allocated more time for this, but yeah. I want to just final words of advice from all of you. Yeah. Datin, I want to start with you. What is your advice to everyone who is at this point in time struggling to put it all together?
Trust in your own self. Be mindful in and set your priorities as what you would put it as number 1, 2, and 3, and work on that first. I mean, it's no point having 101 things that you would want to do. Select one or two which is you think that it's most important to you, and you work on it first before you move on to the rest.
Linora?
I would take my tagline, which I always say to people, and it's change your mindset, you change your outcome. It really starts down with how
love
you're
that.
thinking.
I like that.
And I'm going to keep it that simple.
Okay, great. Doctor, I want to know, I specifically want you to address this particular issue for people who are out there in difficult family environments.
Survive.
Okay. Oh,
For I mean, this is a time when you really need to survive. Sometimes avoid confrontations. Find a safe space in your room, a safe space to reach out to people. But please find a way to survive. Find a way to reach out. There are lots of care lines. There are lots of reach out lines that have been opened that are free nowadays by the government, by Lembaga Council Malaysia, Persatuan Counsellor Malaysia, Malaysian Counselling Association, in all languages. So please do reach out if you need to reach out. But beyond that, if you're in a very hard situation, find safe spaces and please survive. You are worth it.
thank you. Thank you. Sheila, do you want to wrap up the session for us, please?
Yeah, I think it's been a really interesting session with a lot of insights. We're talking about mind, body, and spirit. I think very important at this point in time is to find a purpose. You might feel that you're at the end of the line, you're desperate. You might be a young person, an older person, a person who's an invalid, but you always can do something that is in a way altruistic, in a sense that calling someone. If you're really down, you have no one to talk to, pick up the phone and talk to someone. If it's a stranger or a friend, just reach out. Okay, find something that you really can connect with, that really makes you feel fulfilled. Now for me personally, I've turned to art. Some of you, Gurit, you've turned to baking. She makes delicious cakes. I just want to say awesome cakes, right? And then right, yeah. And then you play games, Dr. Anasuya, you play games. Lenora, you making these videos. Datin Farah, I know you also finding a lot of fulfillment and telling people that, keeping them nutritionally very sound and all that. So we all have to have a sense of purpose. If you don't have a sense of purpose, you don't know why you're here. You don't know where you're going. You can be you can be a teenager. What can you do now to make, your life a better place to be in? The people around you, you can reach out to people, you can talk to people. You might be in a house where there's conflict going on. Reach out to someone, and don't just be focused outwardly on what people are saying, what people are doing. Know who you are. Find out the strengths from within yourself. Ultimately, it comes back. I think Dr. Anasuya summed it up best. You gotta love yourself, and this is the time, during this time of MCO and lockdown. Find out the person you are, forgive yourself, love yourself, find out what turns you on, what makes you excited about life, and go and do it. There's so many resources out there digitally. We become very digitally smart. Go and find out something that really makes you fulfill. And if all else fails, get an exercise book and start writing out your thoughts. There's a best way, meluahkan perasaan, to give you that immediate release. Yeah.
Ladies, this has been an amazing session. You guys are phenomenal, and I want to say thank you so much
Thank you.
for being here, for
Thank
sharing
you.
your
Thank you.
insights,
Thank you,
and for
thank you.
helping us
Thank you.
take care of ourselves.
Yes.
So thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you our panelists. Stay healthy, stay safe, take care of yourself. Most importantly, be kind to yourself.
Yeah, thank
Bye
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.